Do you feel like you're paying too much in taxes every year, or have a relationship with your current CPA where you only meet them once or just before tax time? Look, I want you to know that there is another solution to paying less in taxes and keeping more of your money. Valard Advisors is a leading fractional CFO and CPA firm that specializes in advanced tax strategies for founders, athletes, and entrepreneurs. Valard Advisors can help you navigate the complexity of business taxes and ensure that you're paying the least amount in tax possible. But this is far more than tax preparation. This is strategy. This is really getting into the data-driven decisions that your business needs to make in order to develop a long-term strategy that aligns for your business and personal goals. Whether you're looking to minimize tax liability, maximize your deductions, or plan for your financial future, Valard Advisors has the expertise and experience to help you get there. Do not wait until tax season. Work with professionals today. Contact Valard Advisors to schedule a consultation. Because generally speaking, in most markets, in most verticals, people are either looking for price or they're looking for service. And if you want to charge more than most people in your market and you want to be premium or luxury, then you have to develop the strategies for customer service in order to increase your prices so that you can charge more, but always making sure that you're delivering the value. Welcome to Generation Wealth. I'm Candy Valentino, and I've been building businesses and generating wealth before I could legally order a drink. For more than 2 decades, I've built, scaled, acquired, and exited businesses, all while investing in real estate and building financial freedom. Now I want to help you expand your wealth and give you the proven roadmap to implement today. It doesn't matter if you're a part of Generation X, Generation Y, or Gen Z. It is time to join Generation Wealth. Now let's get started. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Generation Wealth. And today's mini episode is talking all about business growth. If there's one thing I've found in the last 25 years of being in business as a founder, entrepreneur on my own, I can tell you there are a few common denominators, KPIs, and business metrics that all businesses need to measure and pay attention to, regardless of the industry or market that you're in. So I wanted to just break down a few of those today and talk about the 4 ways to grow a business. And if you've listened to prior podcasts before, you know that I talk a lot about the difference of growth and scale and how I hear so many entrepreneurs combine the two, but how those are 2 very different skills and paths inside of a business. So today we're going to specifically talk about growth, because it's one thing to start a business, but it is an entirely other thing to consistently grow your revenue and maintain profitability. So how do you do that? And how do you measure what matters? So there's 4 ways that when you break down all of the avenues that you can grow your business, they pretty much all fall within these 4 metrics. And the first one is customer acquisition. How to increase the number of customers that you have. And I can tell you that, again, when I first kind of came on the quote online scene, if you will, from being behind the scenes, building businesses for over 2 decades, I noticed that there were so many people talking about acquiring new customers, but they weren't really talking about a customer acquisition strategy, let alone knowing their retention or their lifetime customer value, which are all things that you want to be able to know, measure, and be able to project and predict inside of your business. So the first is customer acquisition, increasing the number of your customers. The second is increasing the average cart or average ticket, depending if you're product or service-based business, increasing the transaction amount that your average customer spends, because it will always be exponentially less expensive to have an existing customer buy from you more frequently, increase their spend than it is to acquire a new one. So the second metrics to always be looking at is your average cart or your average ticket, which is what that customer typically spends. Third is that buying frequency, the purchase frequency, increasing the amount of times in which the client buys from you in a year. It takes so much time, focus, and resources in order to acquire the customer. How can you get better at having that customer buy from you more frequently and spend more? And then another way, oftentimes people go to this when they want to increase their revenue, but it's really not the smartest way to grow a business, which is to raise your prices. Now, There's a lot of people that say, charge what you're worth. You're a human being and you have a life and a heartbeat. You are beyond charging something that's appropriate for that life. What you need to charge and make sure that you're appropriately pricing your products and services for the market and benchmarked against the value that you bring. Meaning in every single industry, there is a Nordstrom and there is a Walmart. There's a Walmart of the industry that's trying to acquire quantity and not quality. And then there's Nordstrom who's going after quality, higher price products and services, smaller batch of customer base. Which one you are, there's no right or wrong answer of which one you are. You just have to decide which space you're playing in. And are you able to provide the value to be the Nordstrom or the Ritz-Carlton within your industry? Because generally speaking, in most markets, in most verticals, people are either looking for price or they're looking for service. And if you want to charge more than most people in your market and you want to be premium or luxury, then you have to develop the strategies for customer service in order to increase your prices so that you can charge more, but always making sure that you're delivering the value in order for what you're charging. So raising your prices, although people automatically think that that's what they should do, it's not always the smartest decision because it's not necessarily going to grow your business. It might just be a quick hit pop to your revenue. And it could actually devalue and cause you problems down the road if you're not ready to raise your prices because you haven't increased that value that you're offering, the level of service that you're providing. So it could actually come back to kick you in the butt later. So let's look at these first three. Now, with every one of these, whether it's customer acquisition, buying frequency, average cart ticket, lifetime customer value, all of those things, there is a business metric that's associated with each. And I'm going to do the best I can over audio to break down how to calculate those so that you can start measuring truly what matters and to get an ROI on these metrics. So customer acquisition costs is very simply when you take your sales and marketing costs and you divide them by the new customers that you've acquired. Sales and marketing costs divided by the new customers that you've acquired. So let's say, for example, you don't have a sales team, so you don't have sales costs, but you're spending $4,500 a month in marketing. Let's say you're doing digital marketing or ads or billboards or something, and you've acquired 125 customers in that same time period. Well, then your customer acquisition costs in this scenario would be $36 per customer acquisition, meaning that it costs you $36 to go out and get that customer to buy from you. Here's what oftentimes newer entrepreneurs or early stage entrepreneurs doing under 3 million often think about. They think that it takes $36 to go get that customer, but they're not taking into effect their gross profit margin of how much revenue they actually have to get from that customer in order to just break even on that customer acquisition cost, let alone make profit from acquiring that customer. So understanding what your true customer acquisition cost is, understanding your profit margins and what you actually make on the services that you offer. These are all really important steps to understanding the data in your business so that you can make better and more informed decisions. Now, let's say it's a different type of business and you do have a sales team and you're paying someone $10,000 a month or two people a base of $5,000 and you have a marketing cost of another $10,000 because you're running ads. You divide that by, say, 10 customers that you acquired in that month. Now you have a customer acquisition cost of $2,000 per customer. But if your average client spend or your average lifetime customer value is, say, $100,000 over the course of time, then that $2,000 customer acquisition cost is something that you would do all day long because you know that over time, that one customer acquired is going to bring you in $100,000 in revenue. Now, let's also break down average order value. The only way to know your average cart or your average ticket is to take that total number of revenue, the gross revenue that you bring in, divided by total number of customers or orders, depending on what industry that you're in. When you divide your revenue by your orders, you're going to get the average order value. Why that is so important, the AOV, is because when you take that total number of revenue, you divide it by the orders, you always know how you're able to increase that. And then you use that benchmark against your average customer acquisition cost. So let's say in this scenario, maybe you have a coffee shop, you bring in $45,000 in revenue in the month, but you had 6,900 orders in order to get that revenue. Well, your average AOV, average order value, is $6.52. If it costs you $36 in this analogy to acquire a new customer, not only does that person have to come in 6 times plus just to bring in the revenue that has nothing to do with your profit margin of what you actually make on that customer, but like, let's say in this scenario, their average order value at a coffee shop is $6.50. And let's say you're at a 20% profit margin. Well, you're only making about $1.30 on every one of those orders. So it's going to take 37 times for that customer to come in for you to even break even on your customer acquisition cost. This is when you start going from not just being a business owner, but to a true entrepreneur, because you understand the numbers in your business and you can really start to measure your metrics. This is what's going to set you up to not just grow your business, but eventually truly scale. And if you ever want to have an exit, these are all of the numbers that a buyer or someone that's going to come in and acquire you are going to want to know. The third is purchase frequency, PV. This could also be referred to as buyer's frequency, buying frequency. This is when you take the number of orders over one period of time and you divide it by the number of unique customers. So take a year. How many orders did you get in a year? How many customers did you service in that same year timeframe? This will also give you indication of your retention rate, right? How many customers are coming in and how many times are you retaining them before they burn off, or churn rate if it's a SaaS product or a membership. What is the churn rate? How many times are you servicing this customer before they drop off and go somewhere else? It could be a retention rate inside of a service-based business or a purchase frequency inside of a different type of vertical. Whatever it is for your business, it's always important to know, because again, this is where you can start to measure that if you are getting that person in for an average of $6.50 that we were talking about a coffee, and it takes 37 times to be able to get over what it costs to acquire them, but your purchase frequency before they drop off, you're only seeing them 12 times. Well, now you know that you actually have a sales cycle that's broken that you need to fix, because if you continue on that path, you will eventually be out of business. That's why it's so important. How do you calculate the purchase frequency? You take the number of orders over one period of time. So let's say it's 30 days. And you divide it by that number of unique customers over that same time period. So let's say, again, same analogy, 6,900 orders over 30 days. You saw 1,500 unique customers. That's a purchase frequency of 4.6. So you take the orders divided by the unique number of customers. Now, in order to make all of these work and to truly understand it, you always want to make sure that you know your gross profit, which is the amount of money left over after you pay for the direct expenses of making or distributing the product or service that you offer. So what is the price that you have? What does it cost to make the product or service? And what is the cost to distribute the product or service? And what's left from those would be gross profit. So it's price minus cost to make product or service minus cost to distribute product or service equals your gross profit GP. So when you're questioning what to charge, this whole notion of charge what you're worth is such a joke. You just need to know your numbers. You need to understand some of these business metrics and these data points, and then you know exactly what to charge, what the market will bear, and what type of value that you need to provide in order to claim that in your space. And there is a way that you can reverse engineer this into a growth goal. Like, what is your current revenue and what is your revenue growth goal? What is the customer acquisition cost that you currently have? And then reverse engineer, how many customers do you need each and every month to hit that revenue goal? When you start to think about how you're reaching your existing customers, where they live, how you're acquiring them, then you can go out and duplicate those efforts to just acquire more and really get any revenue goal that you project. And then, of course, the faster that you can take them down the sales cycle from discovery and awareness to interest and consideration to evaluation and purchase, those are kind of the three main general areas of that marketing cycle. The faster that you can take them down and convert them into a sale, the lower that your customer acquisition cost will be. So when you're looking at data, look at what your revenue was in this past year, the past quarter. What is your revenue goal for this year and for maybe be the next quarter, because it's always better to do 30, 60, 90-day goals. What is the next revenue goal for the next quarter? What is your customer acquisition cost, your CAC? What is your AOV, your average order value? What is your PF, your purchase frequency? And what is the one thing that you can work on that will give you the greatest return? Do you have a great number of customers that are coming to you, but they're not sticking? Do you need to increase your retention? Is there something that you need to do to have them stick and stay? Are there additional offers and services that you need to provide, additional ancillary products in order to get them to spend more? Or do you need different incentives and loyalty programs in order for them to purchase more frequently? When you start to think about these questions, it will help you decide what you need to do next. And if you ever need to do a reevaluation on profitability, or you need someone to really take a deep dive and look at the data in your business to help you make more informed decisions, kind of like having a business partner on your team, then you want to take a look at some of the services I have on my website. I have fractional CFO services in order for a business that's at least doing $500,000 or more in revenue that you could take advantage of. And if that's not where you are yet, I have a great course that breaks down all of these things in depth and give you action steps that you can take on your own. So you can go to candyvalentino.com to view all of those. But remember, what you don't know is costing you a lot of money. And all of the best decisions in your business can be made from the data and the numbers that you already have. Okay, guys, that's all for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning into the podcast. We'll see you next time. And don't forget that if you didn't buy a copy yet of Wealth Habits, it is now available on Audible. And thank you so much for all of your support, because we are #1 bestseller, new release in multiple categories. And of course, if you already have a copy of the book and downloaded it and listened to the book, please consider leaving a 5-star review over on Amazon. It would mean the world to me, as well as many other readers that need this information. Okay, guys, that's it for today. We'll see you next time on Generation Wealth.